Julius is the type of a leader that would want to prove himself. And in proving himself, he's going to be very intolerant to certain behaviors. And it's that intolerance that is going to drive some members to a major split. Because now he's going to grow a sense of paranoia.
Yes.
He's no longer going to
And we've got to be able, as it were, to rise above, because I totally disagreed with the MKP. I totally disagreed with President Zuma. But there are 2.3 million people behind that political party, which is speaking your language, which is borrowing from your script. But these people are also largely the working class. They are the oppressed. These people, you cannot say they're the enemy. You cannot say that you can't work with them. I don't know on which political, progressive, theoretical basis would you arrive at that conclusion. You can't do that. The ANC in 1959 couldn't wake up and say the PAC, because it broke away from them. It couldn't wake up and say the PAC is an enemy. On the basis of what? In the political discourse, in the political literature, including in your own documents, would you characterize that particular outfit which you were entangled to, which you entangled yourself to? You wake up in the morning without explanation and say they are now an enemy. The SACP, for an example, couldn't wake up in the morning and say the ANC in 1944, in 1947, in 1952, they couldn't wake up in the morning and say these are enemies, because you are all fighting against the destruction of apartheid. There is a picket line. If you've been, as it were, an activist, a political activist, political action must always be grounded in political explanations. The picket line is what draws us between friends and enemies of the revolution. I think that that time will come. There was a time, you would know, Mzwai, when we fiercely fought President Zuma. And, one day we were entangled with him. 6-7 years later, we were entangled with him. And that tells you that these disagreements are temporary, because the conditions on the ground will dictate that you cannot be few. You can't afford, as the people who want progress in this country, to constantly enjoy being divided by the enemy. Your success lies in uniting your forces. And who are these forces? It's the working class. It's the workers, it's the unemployed, it's the black people, it's the coloreds, and so on. And those are the forces. You always have to act in their interest. And I really think that the conditions are going to dictate certainly towards that direction.
Well, moving towards closure now, you did indicate that you're moving towards academia, towards civil society. Just perhaps if you can just summarize exactly where is Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlovu going, Ndlovu going now that you are out of party politics?
You should understand the genesis, the formation of the EFF.
Let's do this, because people are going to say we are biased. Let's declare first. You are an ANC Stalwart. Who knows the ANC pre-democracy during the struggle times of apartheid?
In fact, to make it even worse. When we were in Mangam conference, we were fighting in the same battle lines. You would remember that's the conference where Malema and his supporters made an attempt to get him reinstated in the ANC.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm saying the formation of the EFF was based on anger and solidarity. Okay. We must remember that this was as a result of Malema being expelled from the ANC.
Okay.
And of course the people he was expelled with him decided to form their own political party. And they exploited an opportunity of a set of resolutions which emanated from the conference of the ANC Youth League, which actually pronounced Malema as the president. And if we go back, you realize that he was able to measure the possible numbers that he can draw.
That is Julius Malema.
Yes, because there was a march to the stock exchange, if you remember that march.
Yeah.
Now, that march was well attended, so he realized that, no, if I make a clarion call to the young people, the likelihood of them following me is very high. And I must say he was correct in a way. You know, it's just that the first blunder that he made and committed was not to carry this thing on with Andile Lungisa.
Oh.
He did it at a time when his deputy was Ronald Lamola.
Okay.
And he did not warm himself up close to Lamola. So his departure that did not create a vacuum. All right? But then in his element, in his character, you can listen to some of his pronouncements. I'm afraid of no one can do anything, and so forth. Now, you can't do that to people who have got a sense of origination, who are intellectually astute and academically armed to can analyze things. There's a clip, a very short clip, where it degrades Floyd. It was shot a long time ago at a press conference, and he noticed that apparently Floyd was reading a newspaper. And how he reprimanded Floyd. Hey, Floyd, una di camera mama. Patroling no newspaper. You don't do that. Now, it was evident even at that time. It's one thing to be members of the organization, the same organization. It's another to be on the same page of that organization. And that's what causes splits. If there are two people in any organization and they don't see things through the same lens, a split is inevitable. So there have been rumblings within the EFF for many years. We know there have been rumblings. There have been a lot of disagreements, even just in terms of approach in the EFF. And when the EFF started attracting people who might be seen as wooden, it became a problem. Right? It became a problem. Your Jimmy Manis, your
Kalni House.
Your Carlton House, a person that you said Carlton House is the type of a person that when he calls you should not answer his calls and must tell me, must never call me again. The next thing you lead a match with him. You understand?
Yeah.
And then now the question is, what role did Floyd play in all these things? I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that most of those people who are attracted to the EFF by Floyd.
So there's this rationale that says Floyd is the actual engine of the organization.
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes. You have to be blind not to see that. And you must see how systematically he has been marginalizing people like Bondlosi. There was a young chap, after they removed Ndlozi as the spokesperson, they put him. I think his name was Luvuyo.
Yes.
Very dynamic, brilliant.
Yes.
But that's not what Julius wants. I don't know where that boy is. Disappeared from the political spectrum.
Is it Pambo?
No. Tallish Latin complexion. I think his name was Luvuyo.
Okay.
Now, so at one stage, he was saying to Floyd, which other deputy secretary of deputy president of a political party do you know, except the deputy president of the ANC? Why do you want to be known?
Say it again.
Which other deputy president of a political party do you know other than the deputy president of the ANC? And awareness Floyd Shibambu, we want to be known as a deputy president of EF. Meaning that in this circumstances, in this setup, I should be the only one who is known as the president. Understand? And if you check, if I ask you now who is the deputy president of UDM, you will struggle to come with a name. No?
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
So in a way, he was correct. He said, ga go po pedi shakeng go gotla nna mo. Ska ka ngwa ke wa ga rena le shatanyana. Therefore, okay, I don't think we have seen a split yet. No. The split is still coming. You would have both Jimmy Patel and Floyd going to MK party and so forth. But what remains, the EFF, is not homogeneous.
It's going to split further.
It's good. The real split is coming.
Ish. So in raw language, you're saying the West is coming.
The West is coming. And I'll tell you why. Julius is the type of a leader that would want to prove himself. And in proving himself, he's going to be very intolerant to certain behaviors. And it's that intolerance that is going to drive some members to a major split. Because now he's going to grow a sense of paranoia.
Yes.
He's no longer going to look at people and trust them the way that he might have trusted Floyd. Because he wouldn't want to see a re-engineering of another Floyd in the EFF. So he'll be shooting at anything that moves, including the leaves of a tree. So he's going to leave the floor bloodied. And that's what is going to cause the split. Remember, there's no love lost between the EFF and the MKP.
They might pretend.
Yeah. The reality of the situation is that Julius loved Zuma as long as he was fighting the ANC. If you remove the ANC in the equation, Julius has got no space for Zuma. And I would imagine the feeling is mutual. And hence, people who understand that thing, what do they do when they leave the EFF? They don't go back to the ANC. They go to MK Party. They're spiting him.
Ish.
After the 2024 general elections, they asked him, give us an analysis what we think is happening. And he put it in a very nice way. He says, when you eat an elephant, you have to eat it in small pieces. Then you will finish it. He says, we are busy here eating an elephant. Someone comes, he takes a very
Big chunk.
big chunk of that elephant, meaning the MKP. So he's clearly aware that there's this 6-month party with a phenomenal growth, instant growth. And that instant growth is not only a threat to the ANC, but it's a threat even to the EFF. But what's then going to happen is that you are going to have people who are losing confidence in his leadership. And there is going to be a three-way split. Others still have allegiance to Floyd. Others have allegiance to Julius. But there will be others in the middle. And I can tell you, you are going to see a migration of members of the EAF to the ANC. Because they know the battles they ran with Jacob Zuma. They wouldn't go that direction. And if this at home is no longer good, let me go to my parents.
So you are in essence saying there are certain elements of ANC. Okay, ANC might benefit from this ruckus.
If we are honest, it has started benefiting. We've seen many people crossing back to the ANC. People in leadership positions of the EFF being paraded now wearing ANC t-shirts, taking off the red t-shirts. Because what they envisage to become the EFF is not what it's turning out to be. Well and good. Much of what we are saying is very speculative, I must say.
True.
But you must look at trends as they develop. You must look at trends when they develop. In 1969 at Morogoro, it took Tambo to dissolve the NEC for the ANC to rebuild itself, to rebirth itself. And when it was rebirthed, they said, okay, fine, we are rebirthing the ANC, but with you, Tambo, as the leadership. We want you to lead this new ANC, this new watershed ANC.
What year was that?
1969.
So that's Moro.
Morogoro, yes.
So a lot of people, I mean, Hani was involved there.
Yes.
Ben Turok was involved.
Look.
Both of them must rest in peace.
Yeah.
So in the Congress movement, that's a watershed conference, and it's a rebirth of this organization.
It was a rebirth.
Are you saying 1969 Morogoro is the same what Malema is going through now?
It's the same. Remember.
Things will never be the same from...
No, never. Remember. There was one character when you look at the Morogoro conference. Tennyson McEwan. Now, if you look at people who left the country at that time to exile, this was the man who received them in exile. In stature, he was almost at the same par with OR. The leader of the Gang of Eight. These are the people who, if I may say, displayed the first faction in the ANC, and they wanted to take over the ANC. And that's why they were expelled from the ANC.
Sorry for fighters who may not understand the parallels we're trying to draw here. So, well, who wrote that memorandum? Was it Ben Turok and Chris Hani, or was it Ben Turok only?
Look, the memorandum is referred to as the Chris Hani memorandum.
Okay.
The author might have been someone,
Yeah.
but who owned up to it?
Chris Hani stood firm and took ownership.
Yes.
And then the people who were inside ANC, who were now defending the leadership, were saying, chuck out these ones. They are,
Wow. You talk about chuck out.
Yeah.
There were others who were saying,
Kill him.
Yeah, firing squad.
Yes.
Yes.
But the bravery of Chris Hani actually saved the ANC.
Look, it's very interesting that you must know what events led to Morogoro. Morogoro came soon after the death of Luthuli and the Wankis Polilo
project.
Yes. And the participants in Wankis Polilo project, when they came back, they thought that they were going to be received as heroes. And they were received as crusades, you know, just like a newly joined member. And that's what they actually acted them. Chris Hani included. You see? Now, the scale of the severity of the two incidences is not necessarily the same. But I can tell you...
But here's where I draw parallels. But
Yeah.
I want you to finish. I'll draw parallels.
Now, but I can tell you, for the EFF to lose Jimmy Mani and Flo Shibam at a go to MK Party, it's not a coincidence.
They claim it's a coincidence.
No, it's not. Remember, even when Jimmy Mani was in this other political party,
TF.
before he came to EFF, he remained the spokesperson of Jacob Zuma Foundation. So the person closest to Zuma in the EFF remained Jimmy Mani. So the discussions must have centered around the relationship between Jimmy Mani and Floyd. But as to what the motive is, it's another story.
Yes.
You understand?
While we are educating, we are trying to educate each other here. So the parallels I'm trying to draw, and of course you did put the disclaimer that all of this is speculation.
It's speculative, yes.
There were people who were saying rank and file members of the ANC in exile and in struggle and in the trenches were receiving the hardships of the raw realities of being in exile. While Tambo, and they seem disrespectful when they said it, Tambo was living a high life, mixing with people in London, and people thought that was disrespectful. There are certain elements of people who are saying, in the EFF, of course, of which it's a speculation, they're saying Julius Malema is a living testimony of a Gushi revolutionary who does not live the life of the people he says he leads. Because every time, I'm not saying Floyd is absolved from this.
Yeah.
It's the same. So this is the little parallels I'm drawing. Because what going to more or the way crying about was the disparity between the soft life living by the leaders and the rank and file members.
Yeah.
It's almost the same thing. So this is why I'm drawing the parallels. Do you have any comment on that?
No. Look. This is a reality. Okay? The reality of the situation is that the strategic perspective of any liberation movement and pseudo-liberation movement, nah?
Pseudo would be?
Yeah, people who claim to be liberation movement.
These ones who just came after.
Yeah, they claim many things.
Yes.
The strategic perspective remains one that says you are fighting for the total emancipation of the masses. Now, the masses is actually two basic motive forces. The working class and the poorest of the poor, the rural masses. Now, if there's no meaningful change in the lives of these two very important motive forces, but there's opulence in the leadership.
Mm.